All right. Hello, everybody. Stephanie Buffamonte is joining me this
Hello.
morning.
Good morning. Happy
Yes,
Saturday.
TJ is on another vacation. I'm just kidding.
Happy for him.
Yes, we are very
But
happy
jealous.
for him. Yes, so we have lots to talk about. And if you guys have any questions too, I have the little Facebook Live pulled up on my phone. So if you guys have any questions, I'll do my best to answer some of those. And if you guys can't hear us for whatever reason, let me know. I'm still pretty new to this, so we're getting
Trying
acquainted.
it out.
Yes, but Stephanie, we were talking about some fun stories,
Yes.
and we talked about, for one, magical dining this
Magical
morning.
dining just started.
Yeah.
It is such a fun time because there's so many restaurants in Orlando and the surrounding areas that sometimes, we just don't try. We're like, eh.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this gives people a good opportunity to try. Also, for me, foods I wouldn't normally try.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't feel like you're maybe, like, I don't want to say wasting as much, but
Right.
you're not taking as much of a gamble because you're getting more food as a whole, I feel like. So that's
And
exciting.
I think the price,
Yes,
it's
it's so
either
much better.
$40 or $60 depending on the restaurant. And like you were saying, it's kind of like maybe a place that you didn't know if you wanted to try or not, and you tried it out. Last year I did magical dining at Ava in Winter Park, so I didn't really know if I liked Mediterranean food.
Yeah, I've never been there.
Yeah, and I really liked it, and it was
Oh,
great.
cool.
So yeah,
That's good to
I think
know.
it's a good thing to like get people to try out new things, and also the money goes to charity, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, that's always super helpful. Oops, sorry, my volume was turned way up. But that's always really helpful too, I think, and it makes it a good cause when it comes to, putting your money towards something with a
Yes.
purpose. Also wanted to talk about Halloween Horror Nights coming up too, because you are like one of our theme park experts. You and TJ, and I feel like David Martin too.
Yeah.
I feel like you all know all things theme parks, and I'm so behind. It's like I have the world's longest bucket list when it comes to things in Central Florida with restaurants and things to do.
Yes.
So, okay, talk to me about Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, Halloween Horror Nights, it's starting on the 29th, so end of August, and it's just going to be awesome. I mean, we did a bunch of stories last year where we talked with Universal about how they come up with these, really scary houses.
I was gonna ask,
They're
like,
scary.
I like some scariness, but I don't like being terrified. Like, I have like bad memories of being chased around with a chainsaw.
Oh my God!
Not a
In a
real
haunted
one.
house,
Not
yeah.
a real one, but yeah, it was like a haunted house at the theme
Yeah,
park.
let's hope so.
Yeah, so at the theme park I worked at, when I was a kid, they had
Which is
like,
so cool.
It was back then it was owned by Six Flags, and then they closed down for a little bit, and then they reopened it as Kentucky Kingdom again. But yeah, it was really scary, and I was also really young,
Yeah.
so like, yeah.
So
It
I
was
get
fun, but
scared
scary.
easily with haunted houses, and I did it last year because we were talking about it a lot, in our newscasts and stuff, and I was like, I have to try it.
Yes.
So it was the first year I tried it out. One of the houses, I can't remember which one it was. It was like the scariest one of the year, and I literally at one point as we were going through, I just stopped and I was like, I don't think I could do this anymore. But then I made it through and I was like, wait, that was actually really fun. But it is
Adrenaline.
scary.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, I mean, and talking about Halloween, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party just started.
I've actually been to the one in Disneyland.
Okay.
And it was really fun. It was really cute. This was a couple of years ago, but I went with like my nieces and stuff. And I know Disneyland is like so much smaller than Disney
Yeah.
World, but I've heard it's the detail they put into it is
Yes.
amazing. The parades are so
Parade
cool.
is cool. And my favorite part of the parade is when you have those scary guys with the shovels and it like makes that sound. I don't know. It just like brings you in.
Chills.
And I like that the Goofy and Mickey
Yes.
and Minnie, they get dressed up in like a Halloween costume. And yeah, for the kiddos, it's super fun. It's lots of candy and you get to ride the rides with less
Yes.
people there.
That's what I liked about it, and it was so funny because I had to go on a bunch of rides without my nieces, and I accidentally the roller coaster in Disneyland, I forget the name, the Incredicoaster, I think.
Okay, yeah.
And it goes like upside down and stuff, and that's probably the most recent roller coaster I've ridden, and it's still very fast. And it's like a wooden roller coaster, I think,
Yeah.
partially, so it like jerks you around some. I ended up accidentally getting put in the front seat. And they were laughing hysterically because they went and like
No.
there was two of them and they went before me, and so like the orders got mixed up, and so
Yeah.
they got to go before me, and then they were like, Auntie, she has
Who's
to
stuck
go
in front?
and I got off of the ride,
Were
and
you
they were
terrified?
like, Yep. And they were like, we heard Auntie screaming. She was so scared.
So
And I was like,
I do like roller coasters,
Yeah.
but I always scream no matter what.
same. I can't not.
You just have to let it out, I feel
Yes,
like.
it's part of the experience.
This is different, but when we were covering Epic Universe, I went on Stardust Racers, and I was just screaming my head off. That one was scary. And the person behind me when we got off, he goes, "You were screaming for a full minute and a half," and I go, "I'm sorry you had to experience that."
You should be a singer.
Right. It would be terrible, but yeah, it was super super fun, and yeah, and with Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party roller coasters, you have to try Tron. Because that's
Okay, I've heard
at
about Tron.
Magic Kingdom. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm not entirely opposed to it. It's just one of those things that I need to put on my bucket list.
Yes.
And do it and take that leap. But I do want to talk about the forecast. So everyone say thank you, Stephanie, for coming in.
And have a great weekend,
I know,
everyone.
Yes. And you'll be back tomorrow morning,
Yes.
and so will I. So
Yeah.
we'll do this again
The duo
tomorrow.
will be back again.
Yes, for sure. But I do want to talk about the forecast because there is still quite a bit to talk about when it comes to the tropics. And there has been a lot of breaking news this morning when it comes to the tropics. So we will get into that here. I'm actually going to share this so more people can see this and comment as needed. Okay, that has been shared to my Facebook, so hopefully more people see it. But again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. We are going to talk about the tropics, though, because things have really been taking off. And so new since last night, we have now, wow, they have actually just bumped it up once again with the 11 o'clock advisory. It looks like it just came out a few moments ago. Actually, let me double check. About 7 minutes ago, the National Hurricane Center just sent us another update. Speeds of up to 155 miles per hour. So it is a very strong hurricane. It has rapidly intensified since late last night. Just give me one moment. Since last night, the hurricane hunters flew into the storm, and they have found that it had strengthened into a Category 4 hurricane just since last night. So the fact that it has strengthened so quickly is pretty remarkable, and it's just 2 miles per hour shy now of Category 5 strength, which is just really impressive. The fact that about 24 hours ago, it was still a tropical storm, it still was a tropical storm. It hadn't quite become a hurricane just yet, and now it's almost a Category 5 hurricane. So rapid intensification, there are certain parameters that quantify and qualify it as rapidly intensifying, as it has to drop so many pressure thresholds and wind thresholds in terms of the intensity and how quickly it takes place hour by hour. And this was like triple the normal threshold. So it just goes to show it was a very, very quick process of it going from essentially just a tropical storm, basically all or nothing, and then it went from nothing to everything. So now it's almost at Category 5 strength. I really would not be at all shocked if it did continue to strengthen further. And I want to point out a couple of things. I'm just going to scoot over a little bit so I can have my mouse. I do want to point out a couple of things because when it comes to looking at this current image, this is from our GO-16 satellite, and this is one of the up close sectors that we can kind of look at where it's really high resolution data that we can see. And that's certainly been the case with this, and been really helpful in determining, the structure of the storm, the intensity, and we can actually see, we call it convection is another word we use for thunderstorm activity when it comes to meteorology. And we can certainly see that there is blossoming convection right around the core. You can see my mouse right here. That has been ongoing. This is over the last 2 hours. So just since earlier this morning, this has really just taken off, even just since I came in earlier this morning, several hours ago. So really remarkable stuff. Again, it's just 2 miles per hour shy of a Category 5 strength. It's slowed down in terms of the movement, and it's almost moving due west as opposed to a west-northwesterly track, so it has wobbled some. I know there's been a lot of talk online about concerns that this is going to be taking a more westerly track than, the forecast has been hinting at, and that'll be something we watch for. But when it comes to a hurricane of this strength, wobbling is to be expected. It's pretty typical for us to see. We have a really small eye, very, very uniform eye. It's very symmetrical, and that is something we see when we have storms of this magnitude strengthen this quickly. So it's pretty. This is the first major hurricane, the first hurricane of the Atlantic hurricane season of 2025 so far. And let's go ahead and pull up the forecast cone because we should have a new forecast cone come out just now. So it's still zoomed in. Wow. Okay. So it is forecast now to become a Category 5 hurricane, which isn't all that shocking. But it's just, I don't know. Just seeing, I don't know, just from a meteorological perspective, just the fact that we can have a Category 5 hurricane as frequently as we have in recent years, just the past 10 years or so, really for much of my career so far in terms of TV meteorology, that we've had so many just remarkable storms. I feel like it says a lot. So, Category 5 hurricane is expected before today is all said and done with. We could see speeds of 165 miles per hour by tonight. Wow, that is just that's remarkable. It'll likely stay a Category 5 hurricane till tomorrow morning. This is obviously the latest forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center. And I want to point out too, the width of the cone does not mean that is the width of the storm. That is what we call the cone of uncertainty, and that is where the center of the storm could be, as far left or right of the edges of that cone. So that's a really important takeaway. It's just kind of the middle is that median of the two. So regardless, though, I think one of the big factors is obviously it's going to turn north. I think that's going to help. It will help out things quite a bit. Bermuda might not be so fortunate when it comes to impacts. Same for parts of Hispaniola. Some of the islands there close to the Bahamas, they could still see some pretty big impacts. Still, I mean, it's going to be a major hurricane, so the surf and conditions will likely deteriorate for some places, but it does not look like it's going to be making direct landfall, except for maybe Bermuda towards the middle end of this week, but it will be staying well offshore of the United States, off the East Coast. We'll be taking that northeasterly turn, which with storms of this magnitude and intensity, that is typically what would happen around this time of year. We have certain steering currents that help with that. So I do want to quickly take you to the spaghetti models too, because those also show it still making that northerly turn, which is good. The spaghetti models have been, even with the ensembles, which we talk about ensembles a lot, that can help with the forecast in terms of kind of replaying the same run with a slightly different scenario over and over and over, and that can help us determine a lot of the trends of the forecast as well if there's some sort of subtle shift. So that'll be something we continue to watch. But so far, the models have done a really good job in being very concise and having a good consensus. If you're in Florida, if you've tracked the tropics at all, you know this, but if we were a lot more unsure, it would be the spread. So all of those little lines would be a lot further apart. But the fact that they're very close together means that that's good. It looks like the forecast is holding together pretty well. So all things considered, what does this mean for Florida, specifically in Central Florida? This means that we are going to have some large breaking waves. We are going to have big swells. We could see wave heights as high as 8 to 12 feet, especially just offshore. So if you have plans the next couple of days, specifically Tuesday through Thursday, if you want to hit the beaches, I know we have lots of surfers who are antsy to get out there and take advantage of these large swells because these are some of the biggest we've had in a little while. So I understand, but just make sure you're being really careful because I have a feeling they may even, I wouldn't be shocked if they close some of the beaches because beach erosion is going to be a factor. Even for strong swimmers, strong surfers, this can be very, very dangerous. So it's just so important to be cautious and careful if you're going to be heading out and into the waters because it can be very dangerous, even without a hurricane in the waters. So it's going to be staying offshore, but that's going to be for pretty much all of the East Coast, how rough the surf is going to be. But for us, I would say, especially from Cape Canaveral points north, that is going to be likely where we have some pretty intense and rough surf conditions that are going to be unfolding here as we head throughout Tuesday all the way through about Thursday. So again, just taking a closer view, wave heights could be as high as 8 to 9 feet, if not higher. it's just going to be, gosh, when we talk rip currents too, those are going to be very strong. And that's what I think people don't always realize either, is that we're going to have erosion. And the way a rip current forms is, the sandbar. And I grew up going to like Panama City Beach and went to Myrtle Beach. I worked in Myrtle Beach. So I remember going out to the sandbar, and we'd always that would be our limit of how far out we would go, which is too far out for a lot of people. But that sandbar plays a big factor in the rip current risk. So the fact that we have some pretty rough surf, we're gonna have some beach erosion, that sandbar is gonna be there. And essentially with how many large breaking waves there will be, the water is gonna stack up closest to the shore. So between the shoreline and the sandbar, where most people swim. And so essentially a rip current is where there's a weakened point along that sandbar, and the water will come rushing back out to the rest of the Atlantic, and that forms that rip current. So no, it will not pull you under, but it will pull you out. And with how big these waves are, you don't want to be pulled out. But regardless, if you want to escape that rip current, they always say don't panic, which I know sounds obvious, but a lot of people do, just because it feels like you're being pulled under sometimes, and it's a little scary because you feel like you're out of control. So I think one of the bigger takeaways is just to be mindful. I wouldn't get in the water. I know I'm not a surfer though, so I can't speak for everyone, but just be really careful because it's going to be pretty rough out there. Again, Tuesday to Thursday looks like it's going to be the roughest of the surf, although I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see some pretty bad rip currents in the coming days. All right, so heat advisory for us here at home locally. I want to talk about our forecast today quickly. Our heat index is going to be as high as 105 to 109, so we have another heat advisory in place. Starts at 11 o'clock, so in just a couple minutes now, and will last through 7 p.m., and that's going to be when the worst and the most hot of the temperatures are going to be happening, and that's going to be for all of us in Florida and Central Florida. We'll see a high today of 95 degrees in Orlando, also about a 60% chance of rain. So we'll see highs across the board in the low to mid 90s, even in like Titusville, where it's typically a degree or two lower than Orlando and inland areas. We're still talking mid 90s at 95 degrees there. Feels like temperatures, as I mentioned, are going to be just really hot. Some places could make a run for 110. That's why I put 109 plus. So it's going to be dangerously hot, especially if you have asthma, breathing problems. Our bodies cannot just cool off efficiently enough in order to stay safe from the heat. Our sweat cannot evaporate off our skin, easily enough with how humid the air is. So I know there's so many things happening at lots of sporting events today. I know that the Lake Mary Little League Parade was also this morning, which better to have it this morning than waiting until later on today and into the afternoon. And I think that's going to be certainly true for several aspects. All right, just want to double check some of the comments to see if we have anything else. Nope. All right, no other questions at this time, so I'm just going to keep going on through. I'll quickly go over the rain chances for today as well. This is looking at future clouds and radar, and this helps to show what we're going to be expecting as far as the radar trends will go as we head over the course of today. So by 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock, we'll start to see a couple of these blips pop up with the radar. Excuse me. We're looking at 3 and 4 p.m. today. And again, this is just kind of a glimpse and an overall idea and trend of what today could look like. And we're going to be seeing by about 3 o'clock much more scattered downpours take place. And this is when a lot of lightning is going to be happening too. So I would certainly make sure you're inside, away from windows even. I know for me personally in my house, as of late, it has been, oh my gosh, the lightning has been so loud. And I know the last couple of weeks we've had some pretty loud storms, but yesterday specifically, it sounded like explosions. And we talked, I'm quite certain that they were positive strikes, but it was just whatever they were hitting. Oof, hopefully no one was nearby because it was loud, it was powerful, and pretty scary. So just stay inside. I mean, even me being inside, I was a little nervous. My power flickered a couple of times, but all that to be said, some heavy downpours and thunderstorms, a lot of lightning, gusty winds will all be possible today. I wouldn't be shocked if we had like an isolated severe thunderstorm or two. Pretty typical of this time of year. These are going to be sea breeze driven. And when we talk sea breeze, that's when the ocean water that's a little bit cooler rushes inland, and it does help to cool temperatures off a little bit. the air temperature that is, and that collides with the very hot, moist, humid air, and essentially helps to create those showers and storms that bubble up. And then we also have the boundaries from those showers and storms. So when we talk boundaries, you can actually almost see it a little bit. It looks like this model in particular. When we have these, you can see them on radar a lot of times. And essentially what these boundaries are rain-cooled air that rush out from a thunderstorm. And it can happen sometimes as a thunderstorm's collapsing, or it can just happen as one gets going quickly. But essentially a lot of rain falls and it pushes out this rain-cooled air. That rain-cooled air helps to create what we call the boundary, and it kicks up, dust, dirt, random debris, and it can pop up on radar. And as a result, it can also help to create additional thunderstorms if it interacts with the sea breeze or interacts with other boundaries from other thunderstorms, which more often than not happens in Central Florida. So that's essentially what we're going to be seeing today. So if you ever hear us talk on air about boundaries and collisions, that's essentially what we're talking about when it comes to sea breeze too. It's really cool too because we can usually see the sea breeze on radar, and sometimes it might look like a shower or with just the debris that's being kicked up and some cloud cover. And you can actually see it from the beaches a lot of times too. That's one of my favorite things to do, is looking at the beach. If you turn away from the beach, especially say by about 2 p.m., and I can say this because I was just at the beach the other day, you can actually see kind of the clouds where it's almost a clear sky, and then you'll start to see just this blanket of clouds kind of starting to bubble up, and it's almost like a boiling pot of water. And we start to see those showers and storms popping up, and eventually they will turn into showers and storms. But yeah, that's kind of my long-winded answer there, because I know we don't get to talk about it. We don't always have enough time on TV to talk about what exactly some of these things mean. But yeah, basically storms will play bumper cars with each other, and that can create some intense storms. It'll rain a lot. I know we had some flash flooding issues in Ocala yesterday. They picked up over 4 inches of rain. You guys did in some parts of Ocala, so not fun. I know that. But hopefully, I don't think we had any reports of injuries, but some stalled vehicles, I think, is what we heard in Ocala there. So, I mean, it rained. There's a retention pond by my house, and the last couple of storms, things have filled up so fast. That retention pond, it'll stay dry, people walk their dogs in it, through much of winter, even into early spring. But once we get this tropical air, it just pours rain and it fills up fast. And we have a lot of rain that falls over a short span of time. That means, the drainage can't always catch up as quickly, and that's how some flash flooding can happen too. All right, here's our 7-day forecast for you. There's a little bit of everything. We do have some drier weather. It's unfortunate. It makes me a little nervous, just because, I don't want to say nervous, but it makes me a little concerned that people will try to take advantage of the drier weather Tuesday and Wednesday, when those rip currents and the surf is going to be the worst. It's still going to rain, 40% chance. It's just not going to be quite as widespread as today and tomorrow. We'll have plenty of moisture to work with here as we head into the next couple of days before we start to see things taper off a bit as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. But again, that's when we're going to see those large breaking waves, large swell. All right, I do want to talk about a couple of comments, only a few. Nicole Robbins says, "Hi, Jess." Hello, Nicole Robbins. Cheryl says, "Stay away from Florida." I'm assuming you mean the hurricane. Agreed. Good morning to William. As always, if you're ever watching, feel free to leave a comment as well. We always appreciate any and all comments, and if you guys have questions. Otherwise, we'll just kind of keep rambling on. But all right, let's go back one more time for anyone who missed it. Again, this is Hurricane Erin, which is now set to become a Category 5 storm. It is almost there at this point. The hurricane hunters will probably fly through it again. Just really remarkable how quickly this thing has taken off. And we've seen it before, but I think every time it just really kind of leaves you a little speechless, I guess you could say, which doesn't happen a lot for me, I feel like. All right, I do actually want to pull up something I read about this storm in particular. Give me one moment, because so Erin, it rapidly intensified overnight. Since 1970, so the last 55 years or so, only 5 Atlantic hurricanes have had 145 miles per hour plus max winds by today's date, by August 16th. It was Alan in 1980, Charlie in 2004, which we remember that year very well, obviously, Dennis in 2005, Emily in 2005, and then Beryl last year in 2024. We remember talking about Beryl because that was so early. But this is the first major hurricane of the Atlantic hurricane season so far, and it's also the first major hurricane. And again, it's expected to safely stay out at sea. If that changes, I think the forecast would have to take a very, very dramatic turn in order for that to happen. But if it does, we will, of course, let you know. But as of right now, the only concern and impact for us in Central Florida will just be that really rough surf as we head into the next couple of days. But this is just radar image we don't see very often. We don't really want to see it either. We keep hoping and praying that it stays out at sea at this point. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any additional questions. I'm still checking. I don't see any, but all right, so that's the latest from me. I will be back, as I mentioned a little earlier, tomorrow morning with your latest forecast, and then next week you'll see me in the mornings for traffic. Yeah, well, this will probably be stealing headlines the next couple of days, just because it is a beast that is Hurricane Erin. Slowed down a little bit in terms of the winds, down to 17 miles per hour when it was still approaching tropical storm strength, I believe, or maybe it was tropical storm. I can't fully remember the exact date. I just got a new question. Yay! I'll talk more on that in a moment. But oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, when it was moving west as a tropical storm, it was around 22 miles per hour, which is pretty fast for a tropical. Even 17 miles per hour is pretty fast for a tropical system. So the fact it's moving at a pretty good pace, and that was one of the things we wanted to watch out for, because if it was able to tap into those warmer waters more effectively, as it has, then it really showed signs how it was rapidly intensifying, which definitely took place last night. Okay, Greg asked a great question. What model do you think is most reliable, GFS or Euro? And what do you think about the emerging AI models? That's a really good question. I think a lot of people will typically say the European model is more reliable, but I think it really depends on the storm. One of the reasons people say the European is a more reliable model is because it's a higher resolution model. So that essentially means that usually we get a resolution, meaning when we show you like future clouds and radar, it's not quite as, splotchy and blurry almost looking. And it updates more frequently. But the takeaway and the drawback to the European model is usually it doesn't go as far out, which in my opinion isn't always a bad thing, because we know that, the GFS goes out to hour 300, whatever. And that's when a lot of people like to post really scary things on social media. And, a forecast is usually, we would say it's typically pretty accurate about 7 days out. So the fact that it's, 2 weeks out, sometimes we look for trends, but to specifically say, oh, we're going to get a hurricane this day, it's going to make landfall. I mean, even with this, people were saying that quite a bit. And obviously, all trends have really pointed to it taking a more northerly turn. So I would say, getting off on a bit of a tangent here. So sorry, I got distracted by a message. Just make sure you're getting your information from reliable people. We at Fox 35, we are degree meteorologists. We've all been doing this for multiple years now, and we don't want to scare you. We want to make sure that you are informed, and we also don't want to just people get money for clicks and views, so I'll say that much. So to answer your question, Greg, I think it really depends on the storm between the GFS and the Euro. Some do better than others. It just really depends on the setup, and also if it's in the Atlantic, the Gulf. The AI models, they are very interesting, and I do think a lot of people think that AI is going to take over with weather and the modeling. I don't necessarily think that's the case, because the whole point in meteorology is that we as humans interpret the models and the information. And I think it just gives us one more tool that we can use to have another way to interpret the data that's being presented to us. And if it helps us do it in a more quick and efficient way, that's great. Because, you know, the whole point of meteorology is to hopefully keep people safe from storms, let them know that storms are happening. You know the drill. So that's kind of my take on that, if it is one at all. But yeah. So this again is Hurricane Erin. We'll have another update coming out about 2 o'clock. Most likely you'll hear that from Laurel. Again, it has 155 miles per hour winds. Gosh, I've been up for a long time. Can you tell? I am waking up when most people are still sleeping. But if you guys don't have any more questions, I will pop on here again tomorrow. At that point, we will probably have or have had Category 5 Hurricane Erin. If you have friends or family in the Virgin Islands, near Puerto Rico even, Antigua, Barbuda as well, just because I know some people and have some friends who are from those areas, so just make sure you give them a call and make sure they're okay, their friends or family are all right, because, yeah, it's going to get a little testy, even into Bermuda as well. All right, I think that is going to be it for me. So I've rambled on long enough, but keep in mind today it's going to be hot, humid. We have that heat advisory. So just make sure you're staying cool out there. But otherwise, it's been fun chatting with you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And again, I'll see you tomorrow.